Nick Wright's 2025 NFL Mock Draft 3.0 is officially underway. The Tennessee Titans are now on the clock.
Live from New York, it's a show that is counting down to the draft by doing a draft. Yes. It is the first hour of First Things First. Today, the Titans, as Mr. Siciliano just told you, are on the clock. Can Cam Ward have a Jaden Daniels type season for Tennessee? Meanwhile, the Browns going defense, offense, or both? Where will Travis Hunter land? And finally, is there a chance that Jackson Dart jumps ahead of Shedeur alongside Nick Wright? I'm Kevin Wildes and Chris Broussard and Jeff Schwartz coming in as our draft expert.
Let's go. Great day.
I'm excited.
Fantastic
this is officially the start of Nick Wright Draft 3.0.
3.0. Big shoes to fill of my own from last year. 19th in the world. 19th in the whole world. 19th in the whole world.
But it's a power pack show. We got to move fast.
Yeah.
So we're headed back to Siciliano.
With the first pick in Nick Wright's NFL Mock Draft 3.0, the Tennessee Titans select Cam Ward, quarterback, University of Miami.
Okay, so no surprises at number one. Nick, you called that one correct, I'm going to say. It's the third number one pick in Miami history. Vinny Testaverde and Russell Maryland, the other two. 57 starts, 3 schools, 14 touchdowns, no interceptions on deep throws. Your take on the Titans' first pick?
Well, listen, this was the most obvious pick. I think this was unanimous in basically every single mock draft. What I find most interesting, Brew, about the Cam Ward going number one is almost the lack of discussion going into the draft. Even with Caleb, we knew he was going number one, but there was real discussion surrounding him. I haven't heard anyone be like, you know what, Cam Ward's no good, and I haven't heard anyone be like, I think Cam Ward is a future superstar. It just seems like for a guy that's going to go 1-1, it's kind of very tepid across the board.
Because I think that speaks to that this draft isn't viewed as strong, particularly at the quarterback position, as the previous drafts. And everybody thought, we knew about Caleb, he's going to be a superstar. Different feelings about Cam, but we'll see how it pans out.
Yeah.
Look, he's number one for a reason. He's most talented. I think the discussion now, obviously, is who's the second quarterback. I think we know who one is. Number two will be the most fun tonight.
I also wonder if in a draft where receiver is not considered nearly as strong as last year, if Tennessee is looking at receiver at the top of the second round to support him. They added Tyler Lockett yesterday, but Calvin Ridley, they have him. They have Van Jefferson. Treylon Burks never really worked out for them in the pick for A.J. Brown. Are they going to go offense to the very top of the draft?
Browns have the second pick. It's in. Here we go.
With the second pick in Nick Wright's NFL Mock Draft 3.0, the Cleveland Browns select Travis Hunter, wide receiver and cornerback.
Ooh, I like the
University of Colorado.
So Travis obviously won the Heisman Trophy. Last 2 years of snaps, 1,200 offense, almost 1,400 on defense. He's been pretty adamant, Brew, that he wants to play both ways. What was your take on the Browns taking Travis?
Well, look, I think Nick got this right. This is what the pick is going to be. And I love it because Travis is, I think, transcendent. I'm going to shock you guys.
Ooh.
I would have went with Shedeur.
Wow.
If I'm the Browns, because they got to get a quarterback. And I think, look, I know everybody's kind of, it's open season on Shedeur Sanders right now. I think he's going to pan out and be a very good quarterback. That said, this is obviously a great pick because he's a better player than Shedeur. Whether he's on defense with Denzel Ward, now you obviously got Myles Garrett. The defense is going to be strong. And I mentioned Shedeur. He could have learned, I think, under Flacco. You don't even have to play him right away. If they put Travis at receiver, though, with Judy, that'll help Flacco, too. So it's a great pick. I'm just saying I would have went with Shedeur.
I think Travis Hunter entered the draft process being considered a corner. I think he's leaving it as a wide receiver.
I think that's right.
The impactful nature of his play at that position will be more powerful to team. Plus, I know he wants to play both ways. I get it. you can't do wide receiver and corner. You can do corner and a little wide receiver. So I think full-time wide receiver is the way he goes.
Check back with me on this in 18 to 24 years, but I think he's a Hall of Famer.
Wow.
I believe in his football character. I believe that he is a unicorn. I believe in Travis Hunter.
Okay. Giants picking at number 3. The pick is in.
With the third pick in Nick Wright's NFL Mock Draft 3.0, the New York Giants select Abdul Carter, edge, Penn State University.
So there were some thoughts here that the Giants would go for Shedeur, but no, they go on defense. Led college football with 23.5 tackles for loss. Didn't miss a game, so he's been healthy. And of course, number 11, a lot of comparisons to Micah Parsons. Is that fair, or could he be better, Jeff?
It's probably unfair to compare someone to one of the best players in the NFL, but I certainly understand the comparison, right? Giants take best player available. It's a draft pick they have to make. There are basically two ways you win in college as a defensive end, right? You win with just you're talented, you're more talented, or talent plus skill. He's talent plus skill, and that skill will make him very good immediately in the NFL. He's great with his hands already, and he has the ability to win 2 or 3 different ways. Got to get a little stronger in the run game, but that can come, right? Like you just get bigger and stronger and faster. I love this pick for the Giants.
So I have a quick question, because people think of the Giants, when they won the Super Bowls with Eli and those 4 great defensive linemen, but some of those ends were big enough to also play D tackle, so you could get them all on the field at the same time. Brian Burns is a true end. This kid is a true end. Thibodeau is mostly a true end. Like, do you think this means Thibodeau, who was a previous top 5 pick for them or 6 pick for them, could potentially be on the move, or they try to get them all involved?
Well, they did not pick up his 5th-year option. This is probably his last year in New York, and he's the replacement for Thibodeau.
So that's what it is. And so, because I just don't think you can rotate them the way Philly rotates guys, but it's hard to get all 3 of those guys on the field at the same time.
Okay. It doesn't look like my Patriots are going to get Abdul Carter or Travis. See where we go.
This is where the draft begins.
Yeah, that's right.
With the 4th pick in Nick Wright's NFL Mock Draft 3.0, the New England Patriots select Will Campbell, offensive tackle, Louisiana State University.
Guess what? Football is won at the line. Poor Drake was sacked 34 times last year, 9%. Josh Allen was under 3%. I want to get down to Josh Allen type numbers. Will Campbell, 27-game stretch without a sack allowed, but Jeff, the odd story was that his arms were too short, then his arms grew at the pro day, and that story honestly kind of lost some steam. Do you think Will Campbell is going to be a huge star?
I think he is, and the arm thing is interesting. Everyone's arms got longer at their pro days, so I don't know if the scouting and the measurements are wrong at the combine. The Patriots just have to make this pick, right? They need a left tackle in the worst way. Is he the best player on the board right now? Probably not, but you have to project, Drake May. Like, your job this year is to make sure that you give him all the weapons possible to evaluate Drake May, by the end of year 2, and Campbell has to be that guy. So this is the pick they have to make. It kind of pairs and matches really well together.
I'm happy with it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's a great pick, and his arms might be too short to box with God, but not your average defender.
Oh, wow.
So he'll be fine.
But how
we leave the arms alone? He'll be fine.
How big of a deal is it really? How long were your arms?
It depends. Longer than his. It really matters on how you punch. We don't have time to get all into semantics of it, but if you are a kind of an independent hand puncher, you're fine. If you're sort of a double under guy, it's a problem. He's not the double under guy, so I think he'll be fine.
He is. The reason that I don't really care about what they measured, the time they got measured longer, which was pro day or whatever, is because he said it. He was like, yeah, LSU was worried about the length of my arms. So he's not saying they were mismeasured. Yeah. He's saying I have short arms and it doesn't matter.
Right.
And so I've been able to deal with it.
I love it. He was on with Kay Adams this morning, and he was talking about how him and Vrabel had a nice connection. Yeah. So solid pick for the Patriots. We're headed back to Siciliano, Jacksonville.
Oof. Help for the Prince? Maybe?
With the 5th pick in Nick Wright's NFL Mock Draft 3.0, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Mason Graham, defensive lineman, University of Michigan.
So not necessarily help for the Prince on offense, but as you know, defense wins championships, trademark. 2-time All-American Mason Graham out of Michigan, led the nation's #1 defense in 23. So are you happy with this pick for the Prince's
I think it's
squad?
listen, I think that the Prince is going to be judged by the team being good.
Absolutely.
And I think that Brian Thomas Jr. is awesome. Etienne has not been as impactful as they hoped, but I still think he's good.
Yeah.
And Tank Bigsby's a nice, they have a nice 1-2 punch there. I know the whole world has them taking Genty, and if they do end up taking Genty, it'll be exciting, and it will help Lawrence's numbers. But they need to be better on defense. Trayvon Walker has underwhelmed as #1 overall pick. We knew when they took him they should have taken Hutchinson. They didn't. This kid, to me, is one of the, there's no chance he's bad players in this draft. Right. And so I like it. It's a position of need. I think this would be the smart pick by Jacksonville.
The curious thing about Jacksonville is their general manager is 34. This is his first draft ever. He came from Los Angeles in the Rams, who didn't value draft picks very much, didn't draft running backs really high. Is his first pick going to be a running back, who I think is going to be great in the NFL? Or is it going to be a core defensive lineman? Yeah. And that's why I think that Mason Graham could be the pick there.
And I think that maybe they go offensive line, which Mimbo is a possibility. But I think if you can take the best D tackle in the draft, take the best D tackle in the draft.
Okay, Las Vegas on the board at 6.
With the 6th pick in Nick Wright's NFL Mock Draft 3.0, the Las Vegas Raiders select Ashton Genty, running back, Boise State.
So the Raiders are being totally remade here. New coach, new quarterback in Geno, and now the draft's most explosive runner, flirted with Barry Sanders' record, came in second in the Heisman voting behind Travis. Brew, do you like Genty in Vegas? You called this one. He's brushing off his shoulders.
Brew's brushing off his shoulders, not even care.
This is a continuation of my theme I started last year, return of the back.
That's true.
All right, return of the back.
That's
we
true.
saw so many great, it wasn't just Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley. We saw a lot of great running performances this past season, and I think that's why Genty's going so high. Obviously, Pete Carroll sees him maybe like his Marshawn Lynch. Can he be that? And so, look, personally, this might shock you guys, I personally want to see him in Dallas. I think they need a great running back. But I agree with Nick. I don't think he'll last that long. But this is a good pick for the Raiders.
If this ends up happening, will you at least consider joining me that the Raiders could actually be the final playoff team in the AFC this year? Upgrade with Geno, huge upgrade at head coach, instant impact running back.
Yeah, I'm not ready to go there yet because to me that means they're going to have 3 teams in that division make the playoffs, which
they happened
is
last year.
Possible, right? But I'm not, because I think the Chargers are in, obviously the Chiefs. So I'm not ready to go there yet, but it's something I'll consider.
Who's blocking for Genty in Vegas?
He can't tackle him, so it doesn't matter. Colt Miller, I think, is blocking.
Didn't you see him with his shirt off?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Great.
And you saw him playing basketball. He can jump over the line of scrimmage.
I think Jeff is correct. Jets on the board, totally remaking their team. Let's see where they go here at 7.
With the 7th pick in Nick Wright's NFL Mock Draft 3.0, the New York Jets select Armand Membu, offensive tackle, University of Missouri.
Okay, so the Jets fortify their line. Second team all SEC, no sacks allowed last year. 31 bench press reps, which I always like, tied for 4th most. I like a strong
offensive
player.
lineman?
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. Jeff, your thoughts?
Yeah, look, Aaron Glenn came from Detroit. We saw how important offensive line was, right? And I think he wants to remake the Jets in that light. They took Olu last year to play left tackle. Membu play right tackle. One thing to watch when you watch offensive linemen is watch their balance, right? When you watch him play, he's never off balance. That's a sign of athleticism. Also being able to use your power and your athleticism and your movements at the same time. Like, watch him play. He's never off balance. He's never on the ground, and he does a great job of finishing players. So I don't know if we have clips of him panking guys, but he does all that together. Now, I think he can be a little overwhelmed at the point of attack in pass protection. Again, the arm thing, like, that's a problem with a lot of these tackles. But it's something he can work through because he has the base of the power and strength.
Also, the best player on the Detroit Lions is Penei Sewell, a right tackle they took in the top 10 at the beginning of the Dan Campbell era. I understand Aaron Glenn's on the other side of the ball, but there's already a lot of talent for Detroit on that side of the ball. I think following in that mold, Brew, and trying to have your left tackle last year, right tackle this year, have that done would be smart for them.
And I think the run game is going to be huge for them. I mean, obviously Justin, that's going to be a big part, and they still got Breece Hall, people sleeping on him still. So yeah, this is good.
All right, headed to see what the Carolina Panthers are up to. Pick number 8.
All right, with the 8th pick in Nick Wright's NFL Mock Draft 3.0, the Carolina Panthers select Jalen Walker, linebacker, University of Georgia.
So Jalen won the Butkus Award last year for the nation's top linebacker, played a bunch of different positions, so a lot of versatility. Nick, do you like?
Yeah, so Jalen Walker, controversial player is the wrong way to put it, but the folks at PFF had him, as of a couple weeks ago, outside of their top 25 players. Daniel Jeremiah, who might be the best in the business, I think finished with him at number 4 or 5. So a much bigger gap in how people view him in the scouting community than some of these other guys taken. The versatility, I think, is good. I understand, Jeff, and this is your neck of the woods where you live, some fans might feel like, try to get Bryce more help. I felt like last year Carolina's defense was unspeakable on the front end. And so a guy that can play a bunch of different spots makes an impact, to me, makes a lot of sense.
Out of all the pass rushers available, and he'll play primarily edge, in my opinion, in the NFL, he's like the best football player of the guys.
Okay.
And I think that's important. He's going to grow into being a pass rusher. He hasn't done it very much. I think the Panthers are excited to take just the best player at that position right here at 8. They also want to trade back too, which everyone wants to trade back. So we'll see if that happens.
So that is, again, like a lot of the evaluators' consensus, he was the consensus 11 player, but the forecasters, meaning the guys who say how he's going to translate to the NFL, he's the consensus 6 player. It's a bigger gap than you see with most of these guys taking the top 10. So it's kind of an unknown, but I think he's going to be a top 10 player.
I wonder if the Panthers make another move to try to support Bryce. When Bryce came on at the end of the year, we thought that he saved his career there at the end of the year. So do you expect them to make
I think maybe they
second round, or
second round take one of those running backs, maybe one of the Ohio State running backs.
Yeah, or even like a Luther Burden top of second round, like a wide receiver. Like
if he's there,
I think they're going that direction.
Yep. Okay. Well, Patriots will take Luther Burden. I like him a lot. Okay, we're headed to New Orleans Saints. Pick number 9.
With the 9th pick in Nick Wright's NFL Mock Draft 3.0, the New Orleans Saints select Mike Green, edge, Marshall University.
I've got a soft spot in my heart for guys out of Marshall.
Because of Randy?
Yeah. I like Marshall. 17 sacks, led FBS. Jeff, do you like Mike Green out of Marshall?
I do. It's interesting because he's not the mold of other Saints defensive ends that they've drafted. So it's a little different guy. He's a little smaller, 6'3", 250. But that's Von Miller's size. I'm not saying he's Von Miller. But I love his energy, and you watch how strong he plays for his frame. Look, 17 sacks is not I don't care what level you're at. Like that's a lot of production, and that translates quickly to the NFL. The Saints fascinate me in general in this draft because I think it can go many different directions.
They need everything.
And they could go tight end, they could go pass rush, they could go different pass rusher. I don't think they're going quarterback, but I think there's options for them here at 9.
They could go O-line. They just declined Trevor Penning's 5th-year option. So this is, as far as the consensus big board rankings, the first real reach we have, unless you consider Cam Ward a reach, but everyone knew. So everyone else taken has been in the top 11. He is 17th, but that really does fit Mickey Loomis in the Saints draft history, which is drafting based on who they like, not necessarily who the whole board likes. Also, our friend of the show, Cameron Jordan, at some point is going to retire. He was in the 2011 draft class. Their other edge, Carl Granderson, was in the 2019 draft class. They need to get younger on the edge. Mike Green, a lot of upside, gives them that opportunity. It might be a top 10 pick for him, might be a little rich, but I could see the Saints doing it.
Okay.
They need help everywhere. Really, at this point, it was taking a talented guy and see where you put it.
Bears are on the clock. They get to figure out what they're doing through a full commercial.
They get more time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Caleb bounced there.
Okay.
Well, just get some time. I like that.
With the 10th pick in Nick Wright's NFL Mock Draft 3.0, the Chicago Bears select Tyler Warren, tight end, Penn State University.
Another weapon for Caleb, the 2024 Mackey Award winner for the nation's top tight end. He had 104 catches, which is a Penn State school record.
Yeah, listen, I know I said for the Prince earlier, he's going to be judged by how much they win at this point in his career. Caleb is going to be judged by looking awesome this year. So he needs to wow, and I think they are setting him up to wow. I think that Keenan Allen last year was a bit of a disappointment, so I don't think they had the, three great wide receiver weapons. He maybe aged out of it a bit. But DJ Moore's still really good. Odunze should be really good. And Tyler Warren being able to line him up in a bunch of places. I think that you saw Ben Johnson, Bruce, saw what Sam Laporta helped unlock there. And I think he's a better player than Laporta, clearly, and more versatile. If it falls like this, and Genty's not there, which I don't think he will be, I think Tyler Warren be great for the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, I love this pick. Not only is he a great receiver, but can block. And I mean, if Caleb doesn't look great, something's really wrong. Because I think he's got the weapons. The receivers, obviously now Warren, and even DeAndre Swift still at the running back.
If Caleb doesn't look good this year, he just won't be the quarterback after the season, right?
It's
not that simple. Like, they're putting everything in place for him. Warren is an incredible prospect. A tight end is unguardable in the NFL. We see it each and every year. He's one of those guys, he catches everything. Watch his Penn State tape. Anything thrown to him is being caught.
And I think there was a little overthinking at this, where late in the draft process, people were like, is Colston Loveland actually the number one tight end? I do not think that. I think it's Tyler Warren.
Okay. We're at number 11.
Ooh, Bruce team.
49ers, see what they do for Brock here.
They got, we'll see.
With the 11th pick in Nick Wright's NFL Mock Draft 3.0, the San Francisco 49ers select Walter Nolan, defensive lineman, University of Mississippi.
6'4", 296, Jeff, 2024 consensus All-American, only missed 2 tackles all last year.
I'm surprised his name had not been higher in a lot of mock drafts until this last week. It feels like he's sort of popping back up here. Look, part of the draft is you have to project talent to the NFL, right? And when you watch his tape, you can see that projection happening. Look, is the production, was it always great? No, not always. But you can see the explosive nature, the way he plays, the way he uses hands, the way he's able to move. And I do think being one of the 5-star recruits does help in this process, because they know that that base of athleticism and power, and just natural gifted ability is translating to the NFL.
Number 2 kid in his high school class behind Travis Hunter. I care about that
Loves
a lot.
high school.
I do. I care about on draft
Nick
day.
cares about that more than anybody.
Bad news about Cam Ward.
I care. I know. I know. I like that a lot. I also, Brew, the Niners were at their best defensively under Saleh, who's back, with DeForest Buckner, you know what I mean, at D tackle. And that defensive line has kind of been eviscerated by age and free agency and moving on from guys. This would be a huge need. I know it wouldn't help Brock, but I think they need it.
No, they definitely need it. That defense, it wasn't as good last year as it's supposed to be. And I think with Saleh and this pick, and then those young guys that played last year, getting more experience last year, even though they lost games, they'll be better on that end.
This is also probably, to be fair, the ceiling for where he could be picked.
Correct.
With the floor being, I saw some mocks him being available for my Chiefs at 31.
Wow.
I would be over the moon about that.
A fantastic.
But I think this is about the ceiling. But I'm super high on this player.
Okay, let's see what the Cowboys are up to. Jerry promised some trades.
Maybe, yeah.
All right, with the 12th pick in Nick Wright's NFL Mock Draft 3.0, the Dallas Cowboys select Teteroa McMillan, wide receiver, University of Arizona.
So I like Ted a lot. I flirted with Ted to the Patriots a little bit. 3,400 career receiving yards at Arizona. Forced 29 missed tackles, so he's hard to get down. We're bringing in our wide receiver expert, Greg Jennings, for his take on Ted. Take a listen.
All right, guys, we got Ted McMillan, Look, clearly the intrigue here is with his size, the stature, 6'5", 212 plus pounds, who can run routes, high point the ball, 50-50. You put him opposite CeeDee Lamb, and you potentially have something special on offense. You go down to the red zone where obviously quarterbacks like to target bigger frame, bigger receivers. That's what the production will look like. Catching balls in the red zone, putting guys on their back, high-pointing balls. He has great hands and can actually move in and out of his breaks for a big guy. I like this pick for the Dallas Cowboys. Back to you guys in the studio.
Look, I like Ted a lot. I think it'll be a great compliment for CD. But you guys know I said I wanted them to go with I'd like to see a running back there. I don't think, look, Miles Sanders, Javonte Williams, as high as I used to be on him, neither of those guys has averaged even 4 yards a carry the last 2 years. I like Amari and Hampton here. I like Amari and Hampton here from North Carolina, but if they go with Ted is good. His size, and yeah, it's a great pick, but I would have went with the running back.
If they are going to go with a wide receiver, the reason I think Tet makes sense for them is because a lot of the other wide receivers are guys who are best in the slot, where CeeDee Lamb is at his best. Right. Tet is a true outside receiver and would fit for them.
The pairing makes more sense than taking a Golden or a Buka or someone else.
Okay. Let's see what the Dolphins are up to. Picking at 13.
Another team that needs a little bit of everything.
With the 13th pick in Nick Wright's NFL Mock Draft 3.0, the Miami Dolphins select Jahdae Barron, cornerback, University of Texas.
Okay, so Anthony Weaver gets a versatile player for his defense. Dolphins defense not bad last year, fourth fewest yards, didn't translate to a ton of wins. Thorpe Award winner, and he's fast too, under 4.4. Nick, this feels like a telegraph that the Dolphins are also done with Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, I think the Dolphins are done with Jalen Ramsey, and if they are going to go corner, the question is, do you value Barron's tape this year more than Will Johnson's tape a year ago? Because Will Johnson, after the previous season, was a top 10 pick who was clearly cornerback one in this class. He then dealt with injuries, wasn't as strong this year, and he jumped up. Either way, I think you have a really strong player, but I think the Dolphins, Jeff, owe it to the team to make some high-level investments on defense. And so I think Tyreek Hill could be gone as well. I think taking a wide receiver when you have Waddle there already wouldn't make sense. They've got to upgrade that secondary.
I like this pick. His athletic profile, and this is the reason why we do all the testing, is to just sort of match to what we see for guys who have had success. His athletic profile matches that of an elite defensive back in the NFL.
Yeah. And I also think the Dolphins need some blue chippers that they feel like right now, as far as guys under 30, like who are the blue chippers on the Dolphins roster? Jalen Waddle, and that's it. Like Tyreek Hill is, but he is older, doesn't seem to want to be there, and has some real off the field issues going on right now. Like they need a guy that you feel like you can rely on for a while. I think this is that player.
Okay, Colts picking at 14.
With the 14th pick in Nick Wright's NFL Mock Draft 3.0, the Indianapolis Colts select Colston Loveland, tight end, University of Michigan.
Okay, get a Wolverine headed to Indianapolis. Brew, as you like to say, your daughter went to Michigan.
One of my daughters went to Michigan, so I love this.
56 catches, school record by a tight end in Michigan, and 1,200 receiving yards over the last 2 years, headed to the Colts.
Yeah, I think clearly Tyler Warren was the best tight end, but this guy is good. He's more, he plays it, he's like a receiver, a little more of a receiver, right? Not going to be a great blocker. I think can be adequate, which will be important with Jonathan Taylor there. But I think, look, tight end is protection. And for Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones, whichever one is playing the position, I think this will help him. It's a good pick because I think it'll help him.
I think Shane Steichen will find the best way to use him. He's a premium pass catcher. I watched him. He tore up Oregon. And remember last year at Michigan, guys, they couldn't complete forward passes. So for him to even get yards and catches, knowing that he was basically their only option, is super impressive. Because when we watched that film, he was the only guy they had. He was the 1A for this offense, and he was able to contribute anyway.
Yeah, and I think this draft tonight is going to be a good reminder as to why Michigan won the national championship 2 years ago. Through this mock, we've already had 2 Michigan guys go off the board. The highest player, consensus big board player left is another Michigan guy in Will Johnson. He might, be off the board quickly. Kenneth Grant, the big D tackle, I feel like Jim Harbaugh is hoping. Let him be available for me with the Chargers. But I think you could see 4 Michigan players taken tonight in round 1. We've already seen 2 in this one.
I always think it's a little bit weird draft night. Like, Colston, are you excited to catch passes from whoever may be throwing them?
Are the Colts a dark horse Shedeur Sanders team?
Ooh.
Like the Falcons last year, right? Like, we just sort of didn't expect that. What if they love Shedeur Sanders? He's there at 14. Are they considering that? Looking at Richardson's like on the outs, Daniel Jones is what he is.
That to me would be a ban. I don't think they're ready to full-on give up on Anthony Richardson.
Right. I mean, brought in Daniel Jones and paid him to be the starter, and they're coming out and saying like their owner's deciding who's going to play quarterback.
Just how about from a guy who can't complete passes?
Kicks in.
To someone that does. Falcons on the board.
With the 15th pick in Nick Wright's NFL Mock Draft 3.0, the Atlanta Falcons select Jahad Campbell, linebacker, University of Alabama.
I like this too. 2024 first team All SEC, Jeff. 117 tackles, 8th most in Bama history. 4.52 at the combine.
It's a big fella, 6'3", 240. Probably slimmed down a tiny bit to run at the combine too. I'm glad you showed this film because he wrecked this game. He's a 3-down linebacker. He's probably one of the best off-the-ball linebackers that we've had in years to come out. He's got to work on a little bit of just sort of honing his instincts as a linebacker, but his ability to make plays is all over the film. And the Falcons just need better guys on defense.
Yeah.
Like, they just need better players on defense.
It feels like it has been 15 years since the Falcons have had a truly impactful front 7 defensive player. Like, I'm thinking back to like Grady Jarrett, and that was even longer ago. They've had some good folks in the secondary. They might right now have the best safety in the league in Jesse Bates. Obviously, A.J. Terrell's good, but their total inability to get pressure on the quarterback. And I understand he's not an edge rusher. A lot of the highlights show him getting the quarterback, but like you said, an off-ball 3-down linebacker can do everything. Has really hurt them. I thought last year they had to spend their first pick on defense. Instead, they ended up taking a quarterback. Now, that ended up being prescient because they knew the guy they gave $90 million to was cooked. But this year, it has to be defense for Atlanta. I think being able to take the best linebacker, true linebacker in the class makes a lot of sense.
Okay, number 16. The Arizona Cardinals, who might be sneaky good next year.
Really?
No.
Maybe.
Probably not.
Well, let's see this pick.
With the 16th pick in Nick Wright's NFL Mock Draft 3.0, the Arizona Cardinals select Will Johnson, cornerback, University of Michigan.
A lot of Wolverines going 6'2", 194. He was the defensive MVP of the national championship game last 2 years, no touchdowns, 6 interceptions, but he was injured with some turf toe.
Yeah, sorry, I guess I kind of tipped this pick, which I really shouldn't do since it's my mock draft. I know all 32 of them. When I said it's the best player available, should be coming off the board soon. My pessimism about the Cardinals is because of my pessimism about Kyler's ability to make it through a full season playing at a high level. But they think they have their quarterback. They think I think know they have their wide receiver 1. They have spent high draft picks on their offensive line. They need to get some impact players on defense, Jeff. I feel like Will Johnson is my favorite second defensive back in this draft. I think that the bad film or mediocre film from last year truly can just be chalked up to the turf toe, and so I think this would be a great pick for them.
I mean, I think you're right about he would have been last year. This would have been viewed as like a supreme value to have him at 16. And look, his film is what it is. And he got hurt last year. He seems to be healthy. He did a pro day a couple weeks ago, and teams like what they saw. And again, look, to the point that we're making about a lot of these teams, they just need better football players.
Yes.
Yeah. And some on offense, some on defense. Like, I know it sounds silly to say, but this is the point of the first round, right? And he makes the team better on defense, and they need it.
I do wonder if they might go running back. I know they have James Conner. I know he had an excellent year last year. That doesn't necessarily feel super sustainable. And so I do wonder if they really love Marion Hampton or Travion Henderson, if they go running back. But They have a defensive-minded head coach. They need better players.
They
in
need,
secondary.
yeah, they need help over there. And Connor is just productive.
Yeah, you like him.
Connor.
You not unlike Javonte Williams, you've publicly talked about that, not just privately.
All right, the Bengals are on the clock, but we're going to take a break, talk about the Rockets evening the series and Jimmy Butler, and then be back with more draft with Jeff in a few minutes. Welcome back to the show. Rockets even the series at 1 in a wire-to-wire victory over Golden State, but the story of the game was Jimmy Butler's injury after a hard fall in the first quarter. He's set for an MRI today. There's some reports that he's okay from Mark Spears, but we're waiting to hear an official word. Here was Steve Kerr after the game.
If Jimmy's out, we have to rethink, everything, like rotations and who starts and the best combinations and all that stuff.
All right, Brew, your reaction to Steve Kerr's worry.
Well, if Jimmy's out, I got to rethink this series, too.
Yeah,
I mean,
you think?
If Jimmy's out, like, maybe even 2 games, but 3 or more, they're done. Like, they are not a 7 seed without Butler. I guess you could be a 10 seed and get that 7th spot, but
they're a 4
or the
seed with Jimmy. They're a 10 seed without him. So that's how they became a 7.
Absolutely, and you saw it yesterday. I mean, we know the benefit he's been to Steph. Steph's scoring went from about 22 to 28 points a game with Butler there. They were 23-7 with Butler. Without him, they're 25-27. So that tells you right there that they're not like a high-ranking playoff team without him. Yesterday, they held Steph to 20 points. I get it that they did that with Butler on the floor when he had the 3-point game. But you could see yesterday, they could throw everything at Steph because you don't have to worry about any other. Even with Butler, there's a limit of high-level scorers on that team. Without Butler, now it's just all on Steph. So they're in deep trouble. I hope for this, just not even because I picked the Warriors, but for the sake of what was really a highly competitive series, I hope he's able to play because it's not a sure thing even with him. Obviously, Houston looked pretty good before Butler got hurt.
Yeah, listen, I think they were going to win that game last night. I said it before, and I think we have seen that in these playoffs, if it's not just a total mismatch, the more desperate team is undefeated. You know what I mean? And so the Pistons won, the Clippers won, the Lakers won, the Warriors won, and I also want to say one other thing because there's been a lunatic fringe that has taken over, it would appear, some of Warriors Twitter saying, Amen Thompson, that was a dirty play. No. I think that is so wildly unfair. Now, I'm also not going to go to the other extreme, which is, Draymond pushed him. Draymond called. No. Draymond and Amen were jostling. Amen fell, and he took out Jimmy's legs. I thought there was a more dangerous play at a different part of the game. I thought of you when someone dove for a loose ball. It might have been Dylan Brooks and landed on Steph. Steph ended up being fine. It was one of the times he and Jalen Green were wrestling for the ball. But they can't win this series if Jimmy misses real time. But even if he doesn't, I think last night might have been the end of their chance of winning the championship. Oh. Because I think for them to win the championship, they needed this series to go quick. They needed to come out unscathed, and they needed to be able to get some rest and for a next round fight against the Lakers, and then a next round, or even the Timberwolves, but I think it'll be the Lakers. And now I think their best case scenario is they win this thing in 7 games in an absolute war, and I just don't think they have enough horses. I think you saw it last night. When you've got a former all-time great lacrosse player as one of your first guys off the bench, Jonathan Kuminga reminding the world why Steve Kerr benched him to begin with, and Draymond Green being afraid to shoot the basketball, back-to-back triple single for him. And so I just don't think they have enough horses because even if Jimmy comes back, I know he got hurt in that Bucks series. He had a similar fall, and then he had like 50 points the other. Right. But then he ran out of gas. After that, I just don't think they have enough.
I'm not worried about the length of the series. If he misses just one game, but can come back, because they could lose game 3 anyway, right? Even with him. But if he's back after game 3 and himself, that's the question. He could come back and still be hampered. That's the problem. But if they do win this series in 7, I'll still give them a shot in that second round. I don't think that wear and tear will be their problem. But they're done if he's out for any significant amount of time. There's no question.
Gary Payton II doesn't want to shoot the ball. Buddy Hield he wants to shoot the ball, but doesn't want to do much of anything else. Now Pods had the 13 quadrillion yesterday.
But the defense also, so it's a double whammy. That's what makes them so valuable and hurts.
And I will give them this. Like, they did not get blown out. Like, they played, they kept it close. I don't want to give them a moral victory, but they could have gotten destroyed last night.
Well, and Kerr kept
some of these guys, Pat Spencer, who knew?
Yeah.
I mean, he actually played okay.
Lacrosse fans do, I'll tell you that much.
I watched some lacrosse highlights. Live from New York, it's the show that has already ordered a Will Campbell Patriots jersey. It's the second hour of our special mock draft special on First Things First. Today, halfway through our mock draft, how far will Shedeur slip? He is still on the board. Meanwhile, are the Chiefs going to draft another weapon for Patrick Mahomes, who recently promised a return to the explosive offense? It was lighting up the group chat for right now.
Disaster that was last year again. Coming in second place doesn't work.
Oh, you should have. Did you see the Super Bowl? Did you catch that? The Bengals on the board. Here's Andrew Siciliano.
With the 17th pick in Nick Wright's NFL Mock Draft 3.0, the Cincinnati Bengals select Mykel Williams, edge, University of Georgia.
Okay, so the Bengals get a little defensive help. 6'5", 260, two-time All-SEC selection, 13.5 tackles for loss in 19 games against ranked opponents, and he was a little banged up last year.
Yeah, so I think this might be the second best edge rusher in the draft after Abdul Carter, obviously. It wouldn't shock me if the Bengals go Malachi Starks, because they really have not gotten over the sin of letting Jesse Bates walk, and he's still the top safety available. What is interesting now is 17 picks into this mock draft, 4 edges are off the board already. So it really is. The only way you're really getting value here is if you think he's better than the 4th edge rusher, that he should have gone higher. But given what's going on with them, with Trey Hendrickson, Jeff, and given the fact that they have Chase and Higgins and Joe, this has to be a defensive player. I would imagine it will be a defensive lineman. I would think this one makes sense.
I think most of the draft has to be defense. They do everything they can to get the defense short away. They have offense, they're set there. And once you get out of this round, the offensive players maybe lessen a little bit. So get an elite pass rusher. These Georgia guys are good. They come in the NFL and they're good. Not almost immediately, some are, but they eventually get to where they need to be. So I think it's a good draft pick for the Bengals. They have to have a defensive end.
Yeah, that side of the ball is where they should spend the majority of the draft. And with Hendrickson maybe being gone, this is the way you
The funniest thing would be is if they just took Omarion Hampton, the running back. They're like, screw it. We're just going to score. We're just going offense. We're spending all of our resources, all of our money on offense.
Trying to outscore
you. They could use a running back.
Yeah. It's an idea. Imagine if one of the tight ends slips.
Go ahead. Seahawks picking at number 18.
All right, with the 18th pick in Nick Wright's NFL Mock Draft 3.0, the Seattle Seahawks select Gray Zabel, offensive tackle, North Dakota State.
Okay, 6'6", 312, so that jumps off the page. Two-time FCS national champion. He's the 3rd North Dakota State player drafted in the first round, and he played 4 different O-line positions. Jeff, my question is, when you watch tape of guys from smaller schools, we just talked about how well Williams did against ranked opponents. How do you judge North Dakota State players?
It's a great question. It's pretty simple. Do you dominate? If you're a smaller school kid, I have to put the film on and you have to be manhandling people. Because if you don't do it at that level, you're not going to do it in the NFL. And again, pancakes don't always matter, but do you move your player from point A to point B against their will? I got to see it at this level. He does that specifically. Dude, these Dakota players, North Dakota, South Dakota State, they are good in the National Football League almost immediately at offensive line. And the film shows he's going to be good immediately. He'll play guard center for Seattle most likely. They need help really inside badly. But his film is littered with just him being better and physically dominating his opponent.
Can I ask you another question? Is that, you're not worried? I was like, all right, well, this guy that he was going up against weighs 220 rather than 260?
But he should be doing that, though, right? Like, that's what he should on film. If you're playing guys that are your worst, then you should be dominating them.
So that's why but also the reason, so he is the consensus big board 33rd ranked player. So he's the first guy I have being taken that is ranked worse than number 20 on the consensus big board. But that's because I think his ranking is lagging a bit. His Senior Bowl was more important than anyone else's Senior Bowl because that's where he got to go up against, the other potential draft prospects, and he excelled there. Also, Seattle needs help. They've drafted 2 tackles recently. They love one of them. They're not sure about the other. The whole center guard, they need everyone. They'd love him to play all the positions, so it would make sense.
Sam Darnold action there?
Oh, yeah. 14
Give
wins.
Sam Darnold a clean pocket?
Yeah.
Watch out.
That's right.
Tampa Bay on the board.
With the 19th pick in Nick Wright's NFL Mock Draft 3.0, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Donovan Ezeraku, edge, Boston College.
Okay. 6'2", 248, Bruce, 16.5 sacks in 2024. The 2024 Hendricks winner for the nation's top defensive end. How do you like Donovan?
I like him a lot. I like the improvement that he had at BC. He was good as a sophomore. Junior year only had 2 sacks, but then came back last year with the 16.5 and was, won that award as best edge rusher in the nation. So I think the kid is going to be good at Tampa. They have some other needs, but this is one of their needs. So I'm fine with this pick. I think it was a good one.
This is where we get in the draft to figuring out sort of best player available and team needs, right? Because you could argue Tampa needs middle linebacker, but Campbell's gone, so you wouldn't draft him. They could probably use a safety, but do you draft a safety now or later? Get yourself a long, rangy edge rusher. We know Tampa's at their best defensively when they have a plethora of pass rushers, and this just adds to that as they get older at that position.
And so listen, there is still edge rushers on the board and a lot of them that people like James Pierce. We've seen at this point a bunch come off already, as Shamar Stewart is another one. So it's kind of a pick your flavor of who you like the most of it. I really do think they are going edge though. They signed Hassan Reddick. That's a dice roll at this point. You know what I mean? You hope that last year was just a contract dispute and nothing else. But they have done Jason Light's done a really good job where you don't look at this team and say they have a huge glaring weakness anywhere. Now, they don't have a bunch of overwhelming strengths either, but they don't, to me, have one giant hole on the roster. But I think they want to get younger at edge. Kalijah Cansey hasn't quite been the guy they hoped he would be when they took him in the first round a couple years ago. So I think one of the edges is going there. I also think they are a prime trade down candidate. Somebody wants to jump in front of Pittsburgh for whatever reason. Yes,
absolutely.
I think that they're a prime candidate.
Okay, pick number 20, Denver Broncos.
Okay, the 20th pick in Nick Wright's NFL Mock Draft 3.0, the Denver Broncos select Omarion Hampton, running back, University of North Carolina.
Okay, so Omarion is basically the second best running back available, 140 yards, so it's second to Ashton Genty. 9 games with over 25 carries, so if Sean Payton gets a guy that can run the ball. Also, the second running back that the Broncos have drafted from North Carolina, Brew, when they drafted Javonte Williams, who you really liked privately.
That knee injury, it just did him in. But look, I love Hampton, and I love him in Denver. I think this is great. He runs with power. He's got good size, and he's got speed. Yeah, he's a guy that I think can be a 3-down back. And so, I think this is a great pick. Like I said, I thought he could have even gone higher. So,
I think it's a great fit for what Denver needs in their offense. Having that 3 running back rotation is not good for your offense. It doesn't get anyone in a rhythm.
Right.
You don't ever feel good about a certain back. And having a 3-down back like him, and he can catch the ball and get downfield fast. He's very good. I think that we're overlooking him because of how good Genty is. He can have a very productive NFL career.
Wow. They're another team that maybe, because if they do want to go running back, because of the depth of running back in this draft, they could potentially be a trade down spot, because there's going to be some teams trying to call to get in front of Pittsburgh, and then they're like, hey, maybe we get Hampton later, maybe we get Travion, maybe we get the kid from Iowa, any of those guys. I will say they have Michael Burton, the former fullback from Kansas City, on the roster. They signed Evan Ingram, a tight end. He's more a finesse tight end. But if they want to be able to power run some people, they don't have the back on the roster to do that. Yeah. He would be the type of back that could do that.
Okay, pick number 21. We've been waiting for this one to see what the Steelers do.
With the 21st pick in Nick Wright's NFL Mock Draft 3.0, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Shedeur Sanders, quarterback, University of Colorado.
So, Brew, this is what you wanted. We don't know what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers, but Shedeur led the league in completion percentage, and it looks like Pittsburgh has their quarterback if he's going to start week 1.
I love it. I think this is he obviously, nobody wants to drop like this, but he is going into a situation where he's on a good team. You've got a top 10 defense. You got some receivers. You got players at the other positions. Stable organization that knows how to win. And look, with or without Rodgers, because you guys know, I'm not saying they have to bring in Rodgers, but if you do, that just allows Shedeur to sit for a year and learn. If you don't, he'll get thrown into the fire, and he's being thrown in not on a bad team where he's got to be the savior, but on a good, solid team. So I love this for Shedeur, and it shouldn't make him down that he's dropped this far.
If the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers wanted to be together, they'd be together, right? I feel strongly about that. So Steelers have to draft a quarterback. They don't have a choice. Who's going to Mason Rudolph? They're going to roll with someone else. They're going to trade for a Cousins, probably unlikely. This makes perfect sense for the fit. Look, you mentioned it. They have two wide receivers that are good. I like Jalen Warren. Their offensive line is young and improving. I don't like the OC, which is another story, but I think it's a perfect match for what Shedeur can do and what they need out of him and what Pittsburgh needs at 21.
And at 21, it doesn't feel like a reach.
Correct.
So, the players still available in this scenario that have a higher consensus big board ranking, it's 2 tackles, Kelvin Banks and Josh Simmons. The Steelers have used first-round picks on tackles each of the last 2 years. They think they're set there. It's a safety in Malachi Starks. They have Minka. It's an edge in Shamar Stewart. They have TJ Watt, even though he wants more money. So it doesn't feel desperate. It doesn't feel to me the way Kenny Pickett felt, where it's like, okay, he's from here. We're on the board, fine. So it's a worthy risk, even if I'm not as high on him as Brew is.
Shedeur on Max Crosby's podcast was joking around about his Mount Rushmore, I think, of duos, and he was talking about Brady and the Patriots, and then he said, and whoever the Pittsburgh quarterback is going to be throwing a DK Metcalf. So it feels like he's joking around, but he has thrown a lot of signals out there that he expects to be taken at 21. Okay, pick number 22, the Chargers on the board.
All right, with the 22nd pick in Nick Wright's NFL Mock Draft 3.0, the Los Angeles Chargers select more Michigan, Kenneth Grant, defensive lineman, University of Michigan.
A lot of Wolverines coming off the board. Kenneth Grant to the Chargers, 2-time All Big Ten selection, tackle for loss in 5 straight games, and at 331 pounds, Jeff, a 31 vertical jump.
I was the same weight. I did not have the same vertical jump. He's just a huge human, and I think the Chargers just need physicality on their defensive line, especially inside. And he sort of, again, this is the perfect fit of best player available and team need. And Harbaugh, he's going to draft those Michigan guys. He knows what he has in him, all the stuff. And there's no character problems with Grant at all, but all the inside stuff that you want to know about a player Harbaugh knows this stuff already, right? Because he's been around him for so many years. He recruited him, he won a championship with him, and I think it's just a perfect match of what he can do with Grant and also with the Chargers.
Can I ask what might be a dumb question?
Yeah.
I'm impressed by the vertical leap. For a D tackle, I don't know why it would matter, but it seems like the people who actually scout these guys really care about that. So what does it signal to you? Because it's not like, oh, you'll be able to tip more passes because of it. What does it signal?
It's the get off, right? It's in your three-point stance, being able to explode off the ball. And so again, like the numbers are not really like for individual players like that important, I think. It's more just for matching to what we've seen work in the NFL. We have years and years of data. So if you look at a guy his size who jumps that well, you can match it to like, oh, these guys are pretty good in the NFL. So to me, that's what the broad jump is for. It's what broad jump is out. Vertical jump is for, is that the explosion of the hips. How can you get off the ball? That's all matters in the testing of jumping.
I like Harbaugh drafting Michigan guys.
I do too. If I was Harbaugh, I'd try to trade up more Michigan guys. Green Bay, bro.
All right, here we go. With the 23rd pick in Nick Wright's NFL Mock Draft 3.0, the Green Bay Packers select Shamar Stewart, edge, Texas A&M.
Okay, so the Packers defense gets even younger, Brew. It's one of your favorite stats, how young that defense was. Highest A&M defensive pick since Myles Garrett. Under a 4.6 40, 11 tackles for losses in his college career.
I like this pick because I think this is a pick for potential. Like his upside, his size, you just saw his speed, but the numbers weren't as great as you'd expect them to be. So you're looking at this as, okay, we can work with this guy. I don't expect him to go right in and like light up, the team. But I think over time, they're looking at him as a guy that as the season goes on, and particularly in the future years, he could really be something special if they can get him to reach his potential.
So as a Packers, not that you're a Packers guy, but you like J-Lo, and you've convinced us to call him J-Lo. So there is
a receiver?
Yes, that's because it feels like they have a ton of receivers.
They got a bunch of good receivers, but not.
So would you want them to go offense here, most notably go receiver?
I thought about that because there's still some good receivers left, Golden and these guys.
Buka.
So I looked at it again though, and I was like, they've got several good receivers, and they got McCole Hardman now. I mean, so
Super Bowl champion.
Yeah, unless you think that guy's going to be a bona fide number one.
Yep.
Which I don't know if either of these guys is. I think that's why
I think they would love if one of the corners somehow fell to here. Because they want to move off Jair, and maybe they even would be aggressive enough to trade up. Because you do have to think that if Will Johnson were to slip, Harbaugh at 22 will take him. You know what I mean? So like that, maybe they could move up a bit to get a corner, because what they want is a corner. Is just after Johnson and Barron, there's no first-round corners in this draft.
Okay. Headed to Minnesota, pick number 24 for the Vikings.
With the 24th pick in Nick Wright's NFL Mock Draft 3.0, the Minnesota Vikings select Malachi Starks, safety, University of Georgia.
Okay, two-time All-American Jeff, 197 tackles in 3 years at Georgia, and a freshman starter on that national championship. I mean, we were talking about how the Georgia players come right in and make an impact. Are you expecting the same thing from Malachi?
I am. It's a position of need as Harrison Smith gets a little older, right? You want to add in a safety here. And again, you look at the board and you think to yourself, like, where are you getting a better safety? Probably not in the second round. You look at and you say, okay, well, do we want a corner? Well, the corners, to Nick's point, like they're gone. And so you get to a situation where the pass rushers are sort of disappearing right now too, and he becomes your best player available to take on the side of the ball where you want to improve the most. So it makes a lot of sense for the pairing of these guys.
I could see them going running back.
Really?
I could. Aaron Jones was really good for them last year. He also is at this point an older player. And they obviously don't need a wide receiver. I think their offensive line, when healthy, is really good.
Yes.
I do like, though, and the Lions did this really well a few drafts ago, where they were like, you know what? We don't care as much as the rest of the league about positional value. if we have the ability to get the number one tight end, the number one off-ball linebacker, the number one safety, as opposed to the number 6 edge rusher, whatever it is. So this is around that part of the draft where you might say, hey, Nick Scorton is the number 6 edge. We could take him, or we could take everyone's number 1 safety.
Correct.
And I think that could make sense for them.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. The Texans are officially on the board, and after the commercials, we'll see what the Chiefs are up to.
And also the top player left, Kelvin Banks, offensive tackle from Texas.
With the 25th pick in Nick Wright's NFL Mock Draft 3.0, the Houston Texans select Kelvin Banks Jr., offensive tackle, University of Texas.
So Kelvin stays in Texas, 24 Outland Award winner, 1 sack allowed over the last 28 games, highest Texas O-line pick since 2002. He goes to the Texans to give CJ some protection, who was running all over the place. Jeff, early on in the draft process, it felt like he was
You thought he
high.
might go to the Patriots.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
I started reading the Patriots, and then Will Campbell felt like he jumped. Do you like Kelvin in Houston?
I do. They need a left tackle. He's probably right now the most ready of the guys left at the top of the first round. He's one guy that I think the gulf might be wider than anyone. Like their mock drafts have him at 6 the last couple of days. There's some, and if he doesn't go 6 or 7, he's going like 25.
Yeah.
I think it depends on, and this is a lot of flavor of these guys in this draft this year, where not just offensive linemen, where some teams are going to have him 7, some are going to have him 17, some will have him 30. So his run blocking is much better right now than his pass protection. You can see right here, he's an excellent run blocker. Just has to get more consistent as a pass protector. But we talked about this earlier, 5-star kid, top of his class, like his true freshman year, he had a great game against Alabama. Like it's all there, just has to be more consistent.
Brew, you're also kind of a CJ guy.
Yeah. Not kind of.
Okay, you are. Sorry, my bad. It feels like they have 2 obvious needs, both on offense. Offensive line and receiver. They could have stayed in Texas for Matthew Golden. You know what I mean? So what would you rather see them address in this first round?
Offensive line.
Okay.
And I know, look, their offensive line has kind of been a problem since CJ's been there, and he's managed it. But I want to get him more protection, because you don't want him getting beat up and then, worn down later in his career. And I think they can still get, a receiver or 2 that they like later in the draft. So I go the offensive line.
Okay. Pick number 26, the Rams, who you heavily flirted with.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure.
With the 26th pick in Nick Wright's NFL Mock Draft 3.0, the Los Angeles Rams select Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver, Ohio State.
205 career receptions is an Ohio State record. Now he gets to catch balls thrown by Justin Herbert. We're going to bring Greg.
No, not by Justin Herbert.
Oh, I'm
by
sorry.
Matt Stafford.
Excuse me, Matthew Stafford.
My goodness.
I am sorry. I apologize.
They're both in the same stadium.
We're going to bring in Greg to talk about Emeka.
All right, thanks, guys. We got Emeka Egbuka. Look, if you are getting drafted by the Rams, this is an ideal situation. Obviously, the size, it's kind of reminiscent of Cooper Kupp. He's going to be in the slot. You got a guy who's willing to run block, a guy who's quarterback friendly, who understands how to get open, how to fill out the zones. You add him with an already prolific Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. You got something special if you're Sean McVay, adding another weapon like that into your arsenal.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with Greg more. I think this is a great pick. It's why I made it. I think, listen, Tutu Atwell is fine. Upgrading that spot for a team that wants to win through the air is great. And having another wide receiver alongside Puka after Devontae's done, I think is smart. I think they are in absolute win now mode there. I think he could be an impactful player from day one. I know some people have speculated if Shedeur falls, could they draft Shedeur? I don't think you can sell Stafford on coming back and going for it and then spend your first round pick on
Stafford.
On a backup. So I go ahead.
I mean, think about how close they were last year to being the Eagles. Like they were driving in the snow in Philadelphia.
Down 6
and -2 in turnovers, I believe.
Yes.
Like they're closer than I think we give them credit for.
Yeah.
And so the draft has to be about making Matt Stafford and giving him the most opportunity to win now. And this what this does.
In a lot of ways, the reason the Chiefs didn't three-peat is because Matt Stafford couldn't complete that pass.
Pick number 27, Brew, your Ravens.
Killed the Rams.
With the 27th pick in Nick Wright's NFL Mock Draft 3.0, the Baltimore Ravens select James Pierce Jr., edge, University of Tennessee.
6'5", 245, Brew, two-time All-SEC selection. Top 3 in pressures in 23 and 24 as combine. 4.47, best by any edge. Do you like James going to your Ravens?
I do, because this is what we do. We rush the passer. Even last year, what kind of at least started out as a down defensive year, they were second in the league in sacks. Kyle Van Noy's getting up there. He's 34 now, so you want to add to that position for the future. But I think he can give them something in the present, too. Like, I think he can come in and be effective right away. I do think, the secondary was a bigger problem, I thought, last year, even though they got better as the season went on. So I wonder if they could take, like, a defensive back. What do you think about that, Nick?
Well, I mean, yeah, they certainly you would think that safety, you get another safety alongside Kyle Hamilton, be interesting. I think the problem for teams that need help in the secondary in this draft, there's just no corners worthy of a round, I don't think, in my opinion, worthy of round 1 pick on those two. This is a guy whose production probably didn't quite match up with the raw talent this past year, but it does feel very Ravensy, this pick.
One of the Ravens go guard here, knowing that they need to just protect Lamar.
Tyler Booker?
Tyler Booker would be the guy because the guard class is fine, but there's only a couple guys ready to play like now, and Booker's one of them. So I'm curious if they go guard at 27.
Wow. Okay. We're headed to Detroit. The Lions on the board at 28.
With the 28th pick in Nick Wright's NFL Mock Draft 3.0, the Detroit Lions select Matthew Golden, wide receiver, University of Texas.
Speedster out of Texas, 4.29 40, 23 receptions, deep balls, led the Power 4. We're going to bring in Greg again to talk about Matthew Golden.
All right, thanks, guys. This is one of my number 1 receivers in the draft. He's super exciting. And if the Lions are fortunate right here at this pick, you take Matthew Golden, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get a speedster, a guy that you can put opposite Jameson Williams, but a guy who can run the complete route tree. He's dynamic at the line of scrimmage, getting off releases. He catches the ball in his hands. And oh yeah, by the way, his route game is like that. You add him with Amon-Ra St. Brown, obviously what they have in the backfield. And like I already mentioned, Jameson Williams, this already explosive offense just got more explosive, if you can believe that.
Here's got me fired up there.
Brew, here's my only disagreement with Greg there. I think he might be replacing Jameson Williams, not alongside Jameson Williams. I wonder if Jameson Williams could end up being a guy who is traded on day 2 of the draft. But I think that they have been looking for a reliable second receiver alongside Amon-Ra. Tim Patrick, they brought in Jameson Williams, hasn't quite, lived up to that. I really think they go offense here.
But you saw when Williamson was able to play, like the deep threat that he gave them, and Golden could give it to him. So you asked about the Packers with a receiver. Yeah. He'd be great in Green Bay, too. You mentioned something earlier about the Lions sort of not drafting based off of the consensus big board.
Yeah.
Is this an opportunity to take Harrison, the cornerback from Kentucky? I think it's 40th.
Oh, Maxwell Harrison,
because they need defensive help, obviously, and you just kind of throw out big board and say, we just need this guy. Let's take him now and not worry. I mean, look, Campbell was too high, right?
Yep.
James was too high. All these guys, they drafted too high, been good players for him.
Well, so I think, listen, we've been saying that it's Barron and Will Johnson is the only corners. This part of the draft, Maxwell Harrison, who you mentioned, or Trey Amos, who was Ole Miss, Ole Miss are guys who maybe could be end of round 1 corners. I just think, I think with how expensive wide receivers have gotten, just getting a number 2 wide receiver on a rookie contract saves you $25 million a year. Rather than trying to go find him in free agency, I think it's super valuable.
Pick 29, the Commanders. Let's see what Jaden's squad does here.
With the 29th pick in Nick Wright's NFL Mock Draft 3.0, the Washington Commanders select Nick Eamon-Wari, safety, South Carolina.
Okay, first team All-American. And Jeff, this is what you were talking about. Best vertical and broad jump at the combine, 70 tackles each of his 3 college seasons. Dan Quinn gets a versatile guy. He can move around too.
Well, he can jump over the Eagles' offensive line for the tush push, right? In addition to the tush push. He's just a good football player. And again, added to that defense, especially in that division where teams will be throwing the ball, it makes a lot of sense.
It feels to me like, just like we said, Brew, the Bengals are 100% going defense. The Commanders are 100% going defense. Like, I know that theoretically, you could say, do they want to be a team that drafts one of these good running backs? They have to put more of an investment on the defensive side of the ball, especially, Brew, if they're trying to win the NFC East and deal with that Philadelphia offense.
Yeah, and look, their running game isn't great, but it's solid, especially when you have Jaden's a runner himself, and then you got the good receiving group, so that's going to open things up too. So, yeah, I agree. They got to go defense.
Pick number 30, we're going to Buffalo. Getting down to the good teams here. Bills have a few needs.
Yeah.
Okay, with the 30th pick in Nick Wright's NFL Mock Draft 3.0, the Buffalo Bills select Luther Burden III, wide receiver, University of Missouri.
See, I like this a lot. 2-time first team All-SEC, 1,400 yards after catch. Highest Missouri wide receiver pick since Jeremy Maclin. We're going back to Greg.
All right, guys, this kid right here has game-breaking ability. The thing that I love about this pick, if I'm the Buffalo Bills and I'm in that fan base, is a lot of teams like to focus on opposite receivers, guys who do different things. But sometimes you want like-minded guys who are similar, who are interchangeable. And that's what Luther Burden will provide for the Buffalo Bills right here. You already have Shakur, a guy who you put in the slot who's heavily involved in that slot and what they do. You add a guy who can break tackles, who's extremely dynamic with the ball in his hands. And oh yeah, he hasn't even reached the surface of being an elite receiver just yet. If he gets with Josh Allen in that offense, look out if you're in the AFC East.
So the Bills supporting Josh again. Remember, they took Keon in the top of the second round last year. Do you like Luther Burden in Buffalo?
I do like it. As Greg mentioned, the mix of all the guys they have there is important. I think 30, 31, 32 are prime candidates to trade out if the Giants or Browns want to come up for a quarterback. Buffalo has always traded back.
Come up for a quarter?
Yeah, to come up to go get Jackson Dart.
Jackson Dart. I think the Giants really want Jackson Dart, and they'd be willing to go up. And it won't take very much to move from 34, I think, up to 30. The fourth round pick.
Bills might be a little snake bitten on once again moving behind the Chiefs in the draft and just seeing what happens.
But they're not trading with the Chiefs.
Yeah,
it's a difference.
fair enough.
But yeah, I think Buffalo would love to trade back and take someone else later in the second round.
Okay. Chiefs time. Picking at 31. Familiar spot.
No, it's not.
All right, now the pick that matters, right? With the 31st pick in Nick Wright's NFL Mock Draft 3.0, his Kansas City Chiefs select Josh Simmons, offensive tackle, Ohio State.
So
Beach does it again.
6'5", 317, only 1 sack allowed in 19 games. Was hurt, but you like Josh protecting Patrick.
Okay, so listen, if it were to fall like this, the Chiefs would have 2 really good options. The D tackle from Oregon, Jeff's guy, Derek Harmon, or Josh Simmons. So Josh Simmons, a lot of people feel like, was going to be the number 1 tackle in this draft if he didn't get hurt.
Yes.
And so now any type of injury, particularly his patella injury, you worry, is he going to be that same player? I think this would be ideal for Kansas City to take a high upside, not dart throw, but guy who does not have to play immediately at a position they have not been able to fill, which is long-term left tackle. Also, I'm sure Veach is thrilled after years of drafting at 32. He finally gets to draft, a little higher than normal at 31.
I would love if they took Derek Harmon here at 31 if he's available. I think so much focus was on the Chiefs' offensive line, the Super Bowl. their defense line did not touch Jalen Hurts the entire game. Like, they have a legitimate concern, I think, on the defensive line. And look, Karlaftis is good. He's getting better. Chris Jones obviously getting up in age. Derek Harmon is 6'5", 315. And I just think that you look at the resource they spent offensive line the last couple of years. They moved Kingsley inside. They signed Moore. You have to worry about Taylor leaving after the season. We know that. But I think Derek Harmon is a special player out of Oregon, and I think he could really fill what the Chiefs need. So they have two choices here, right? Offensive line, which they need to protect Mahomes, or go defensive line and get another pass rusher.
Okay, speaking of the champion Eagles, they are closing out the first round.
And with the 32nd pick in Nick Wright's NFL Mock Draft 3.0, the world champion Philadelphia Eagles select Josh Connerly Jr., offensive tackle, Oregon.
Okay, this is a fitting end to the first round for you, Jeff. Josh, 24 first team All Big Ten, allowed only 4 quarterback hits, and his combine, 1.71 10-yard split, led all offensive linemen. Do you like Josh in Philadelphia?
I like him anywhere. He's 21 years old. He's super young. A lot of room for growth. Getting a little stronger as we know at that age. It's typically just get in the weight room and get more mature as a body. But his last 6 weeks were really good. He had a good film against Abdul Carter in the Big Ten championship game. If you want to watch to see sort of where you think he can be, that's a good one to watch. And I'm curious, where do you have him playing in Philly? Just as like a Lane Johnson, one more year replacement?
Yes, Lane Johnson. I think that he is your swing tackle this year, and then he's Lane Johnson. Assuming Lane Johnson's only got a year left.
I keep thinking he's retiring. He keeps resigning.
Right, and he's still awesome. You know what I mean? Well, what draft was Lane? Lane Johnson in the 2013 draft.
Oh, yeah.
And so, and you know Howie Roseman wants to go on the defensive lines. I thought maybe Derek Harmon there, but I mean, it's kind of an embarrassment of riches for them at D tackle already with Davis and obviously Jordan Carter.
I mean, you look at what they need. Like, you would think maybe safety a little bit. They're both gone, right?
Yep.
They're not going defense line, probably not. Like, this is a kind of a luxury for them at 32 to just sit here and be like, we'll just take a backup tackle. They're taking a backup tackle at 32.
Yeah. The rich get richer. That's what this is.
Just real quick, guys who didn't go in the first round in the mock, who I think could hear their name called. Derek Harmon, who you mentioned already, Tyler Booker, the interior offensive lineman from Alabama, Mason Taylor, Joy's nephew, the tight end. I would not mind at all if the Chiefs took him. It's kind of a luxury pick. Maybe they can't afford it, but I'd like that. And then Nick Scorton and Trey Amos, along with Travion Henderson. Those are some other guys who are just on the bubble of Mock Draft 3.0.
Okay, that concludes Mock Draft 3.0. Thanks for joining us.
Great job.
Jeff.
Thank you.
Excellent job. Up next, the Bud List. What a power-packed show. The Bud List would be my first
I don't have to
pick.
live up to this.
Tell you that much. Welcome back to the show. It's time now for the most motivational segment in all of sports. Also a time where we read a little bit of viewer mail. We get boatloads of mail for the year 2025. And we are always ready to address your comments and concerns. Dear Wilds, love the show. Thank you. Spring is here, and my clothes are often covered in pollen.
Okay.
Any suggestions? Cheers, Ryan and Brian. Wow. Ryan and Brian, lucky they live in an area with so much beautiful wildlife. Well, Ryan and Brian, we're happy at the Bud List to introduce a new product inspired by how many times Brew has been correct in his predictions. It's the special Bud List Dust Off Your Shoulders lint roller.
Is this a real lint roller?
Yeah.
I love these things.
You can use it for pollen or
Brush
if you're
off
ever
your shoulders.
This will really
with it,
work,
Brew.
too?
Yeah.
Of course.
All right.
specifically
Thank you.
for the Bud List.
Yeah.
It's available in
Wow.
stores nationwide, or you can get it direct if you send a direct message to the show.
Excellent.
Don't-
You're back to the products. We're back selling.
Yeah.
We just give them
Huge
away.
moneymaker.
But don't tell them that if they DM the show, they'll get it. Because
Oh,
that's
you
gonna,
specifically.
That's going to make Gianna's job much harder than it used to be.
Very, very, very true. All right, let's get to this Bud List. We're going to go NBA to start out.
Okay.
We are obviously great NBA playoffs going on. And this is the best series so far. James Harden,
Wow.
Denver, and the Clippers. And look, James, you have had a phenomenal season. And I got you on third team All-NBA. You know, we'll see if you end up making that. But it will be your first time making All-NBA in 5 years. That's impressive. At this late stage of his career to come back and do it. And you're playing great so far against Denver. 25 points, 9 assists a game, 46% shooting, 40% from three, and only 6 turnovers in the 2 games. So here's what I want to say to you, James. Look, I think most people feel like Kawhi is the best player on the team, particularly when he's playing as well as he is. But it's not as a big enough gap where Harden will not get like major credit if they were to win the championship. Now, I know I'm getting way ahead of himself, but for the Clippers, it's about championship. Yeah. This is not about looking good against Denver. It's not about getting to the second round. You look at that roster, bunch of veterans, championship coach. Kawhi's been there several years and they haven't gotten that ring yet. So this is about winning a title. If Harden and the Clippers could win a championship, Nick, this would not be the Jason Kidd championship with Dallas.
No.
This would not be Alonzo Mourning with Miami or Peyton. He would get major credit even if Kawhi is the best player and maybe wins Finals MVP. So this is a chance for Harden. You can rewrite your legacy. Obviously, you're a Hall of Famer and all that. But I think if you could do this, you could rewrite your legacy to where your regular season accolades say you deserve
like
major praise.
Clyde's with Akeem, where they don't win it without him. He was really important. The other guy was already a champion. Yeah,
at least, because no doubt. So this would be huge for Harden. So at number 2, it's your night, Cam Ward. All right, now Cam, you have been a guy that's been underrated, undervalued, overlooked throughout most of your career. In high school, you weren't heavily recruited, didn't throw the ball a lot. In college, you bounced around to different places. And even now, people are saying, oh, well, if it was last year's draft, he might be the 7th quarterback taken. But tonight is your night. You will be the number 1 pick. All eyes will be on you. And obviously, as the number 1 pick, you're going to a team in a bad situation. 3-14 last season, the Titans. However, you got some weapons there. Oh. Nick mentioned Tyler Lockett just signed. Calvin Ridley's there. Tony Pollard in the backfield. You can do much worse than that. Believe you me. Brian Callahan, a good head coach who spent several years with Joe Burrow. So there are things there that if you can step in and be that guy, and I know you believe you can, but just recent history shows maybe you can, because C.J. Stroud came in great right away. Jaden Daniels, obviously, great right away. Bo Nix, pretty good right away. So rookie quarterbacks are showing they can come in and do damage right away. This is your chance to do it, Cam, with a team that you would get a major credit for if you give them a boost. All right, I'm pulling for you, Cam.
Oh, wow.
Now, I can't say I fully believe, but I'm pulling for you.
Well.
All right, at number 1, Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur, even though he's not going number 1, it's his draft. It's about Shedeur Sanders. You are the guy. Everybody's wondering where are you going to go. You have been the talk of this draft, both positive and negative. It appears that you are going to drop, but you might drop into the perfect spot, my man. 21st, Pittsburgh Steelers. We've talked ad nauseum about the defense, the receivers, the stability, the head coach, even the commitment to the run game. Even if they do bring in a veteran like Aaron Rodgers, this is still a great situation for you. Do not let dropping get you down if that's what happens. I talked yesterday. Dak Prescott was the 8th quarterback taken in his draft. Lamar Jackson dropped. Aaron Rodgers, possibly a future teammate, dropped. And obviously these guys have proven the skeptics wrong. So don't worry. I know your dad's told you this, and he can tell you way more than I can about the NFL to motivate you. But you are in a great situation should you wind up with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So don't have a chip on your shoulder because of dropping. Just go out there, be you, and do damage. And I think you will. Shedeur, I believe in you.
Great Bud list.
Great Bud list as always. Now, it's a little after 4:10 on a Thursday.
I thought we missed it. I thought we missed the sports media ombudsman window.
We need it, and I'll do it quickly.
Okay.
This is for Wild sometimes likes to call me a nerd.
Well,
in sports
I love
media.
it.
This is for some of the nerds, but really some of the folks that just think they're better than the rest of us in sports media.
Oh.
Hey, keep your draft grade scolding to yourself. You know what the worst type of commentary tomorrow is? Oh, well, they make me give grades on this. You can't really grade it for 4 years. Who cares? You know who likes draft grades? You know who likes immediate reaction? The audience.
Yeah, I love it.
Us. Everyone.
B+.
And then there's this whole new group of folks who want to be above it. They're like, you know what I'm going to do tomorrow? I'll write a column grading the 2020 draft because now the data is in. How am I supposed to grade tomorrow's? We know it's a guess. It's fun. It's good. It's cotton candy in the sports media ecosystem. And if you don't want to participate, then don't participate it. But stop pretending you're above draft grades. That's all.
I like that.
Thank you.
And that's the
Save
difference
that one.
between you are in the detonate business. You know, I'm right or I'm wrong. They can come at me if they will. A lot of journalists don't like to live in that space. They like to, be more careful. But that's good.
I'm putting Joe Mazzulla on the Bud list.
Wow.
You know what became kind of fashionable? This guy is a basketball psycho. Oh, JJ Redick. Oh, he's a basketball psycho. You sure? Oh, you sure? Here's Kristaps Porzingis bleeding the game last night. This is fresh off Joe Mazzulla keeping the trainer from checking on Tatum and yelling at him to get up. Now, Porzingis covered in blood. Here was Mazzulla after the game.
I love watching him. I like watching him bleed on the court. I think it's important. And then he comes back in and does his job.
I think it's important. I like it, and I think it's important. And here's why he's a champion. This is when the Celtics received their ring. Joe came down and kissed the parquet. And afterwards, just kind of a funny aside, hey, Joe, what did the court taste like? Take a listen.
What went through your mind when you were handed your ring? And two, what did the court taste like?
Blood. Maybe I wish it did.
What in the world? Here's what I've learned. Joe Mazzulla has gotten more confident. Just like players get more confident as the seasons go on, coaches get more confident. You saw in that first clip, blood, or I wish it did, or I'm not supposed to say that. Fast forward, the end of the year. I like that, he believes. It's important. So Joe Mazzulla, I obviously believe in you as you go for back-to-back championships, as you are the true basketball psycho.
You're right. No one else can be called
a
a basketball psycho. You are absolutely right.
And as a special bonus, not only do we have 3 playoff games tonight and the draft for Joe Mazzulla, the accountant too.
The accountant too.
Tonight, it just came out.
Yeah.
Joe's probably can't even see the segment. Podcast is great. We call ourselves a TV show, but if we just wanted to shut down the TV show and have a podcast, we'd be great at that too. Also, YouTube, 975 374. Shout out to person number 74. We appreciate you. Title Pie, Steph, SGA, Giannis, Luka, Jokic, and Tatum. No LeBron.
Yeah, it's a terrible job by our graphics department.
Few hours away from the draft. We're done with our first round mock. You have 2 quarterbacks going in your mock. Could you possibly see 3?
Yeah, I could. And if you're into the gambling odds, all of a sudden, late shift, Jackson Dart now the favorite to be the second quarterback taken.
Get out of town.
No, I will not. But yeah.
Who?
That's not part of it. Jackson Dart's minus 150 to be the second quarterback.
We got to go to overtime on this.
And the Browns are shopping the number 2 pick. Maybe to the Patriots.
I already bought my Will Campbell jersey.